Hello, everyone. Today, I'm going to share with you guys an unexpected event of my life that will surely shock you and you'll be surprised. But before getting into the video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more interesting and real couple stories. My name is Frank Jones. I'm 35 years old man. I am based in Chicago where I'm working in a hospital as a cardiologist. Let's backtrack and revisit the year 2020 when I joined a hospital for practice there. I met a lady doctor named Selena. Selena used to be a senior doctor over there. I remember she was really so hot and attractive. Although she was 5 years older than me, her personality was so good that I fell in love with her for the very first time when I saw her. I remember I had caught her many times along with different boys, but I always used to ignore it. I finally proposed to her one day, and after dating her for a few months, we finally got married. To be honest, her activities used to be very strange and creepy. Even before we got married, I remember she used to be vanished in weekends for no reason. She never replied me whenever I used to ask her where she was busy in our wedding night. Something really awkward happened. I remember I was extremely high at that time and was just about to kiss my wife. Meanwhile, I caught a sight on some scars on my wife's neck. I'm sure that was actually love bites. When I asked my wife about that scars on her neck, my wife's response was really strange and silly. I remember she got confused and then said that it was just a wound of mosquito bite. I remembered that wound was all fresh. Well, I asked her to apply in Ein Heaven. And then we slept. The next morning when I woke up, I was expecting my wife to spend quality time with me. Although it was our first morning after we got married. In fact, I planned an amazing honeymoon to New York as well. But that morning, I was literally shocked to see her praising herself in front of the mirror. It seemed like she was going somewhere when I asked her where she was going. She said that she was going to the hospital. I remember I literally requested her to spend time with me, but she did not agree with my idea. She hurriedly took her hand back and then went out of the house. Even though the breakfast was not prepared, I had never thought that my wife would be so irresponsible. I remember the days when we were dating that time. She used to be very responsible and creative, and I did not take anything on my nerves and then decided to go to the hospital. When I reached the hospital, I did not find my wife anywhere in the hospital. In fact, I asked the hospital receptionist about my wife, but no one knew about her. I remember I was really worried about her and was continuously calling her about why she did not pick up my call. She told me that she was going to the hospital, but she was nowhere in the hospital. I remember she reached the hospital at about 1 a.m. She seemed really tired. I remember she was talking to receptionist like if she was having an inquiry from her. As soon as she found me in front of her, she was totally like a fish out of water and began to say that she was at friend's house whose mother just got a high pain in neck. She did not say anything else and just left for her clinic room. I remember the receptionist was continuously gazing at me like she was judging me. I ignored and occupied in my work. When I reached the house, something really awkward happened. I remember I was eating dinner with my wife and I caught a sight on my wife's arm. I noticed another love bite. I remember she was wearing full sleeve shirt, but I saw that love bite wound when my wife was itching in her. When I asked my wife about that wound, her answer was saying that mosquito had batted her. I could see that it was the mark of him on her arm. I really ignored and went to the bed with her. I remember that night when I was high and went towards her in order to have some physical activity. She seemed really full. She did not show any interest and did not respond back though. It was the second day since we got married. Her attitude was beyond my understanding. I noticed that she was changing day by day. Today, it was Friday's night when I was having night duty in the hospital. My wife was also at her clinic. I was fully swamped in my work. Meanwhile, I got my phone's battery low after I got my charger and power bank in my house. So I decided to ask my wife for the charger when I went to her. Something unexpected happened at first. She was not opening the room's lock. I remember she unlatched the door after about 10 minutes. When she opened the door, she was looking really nervous and confused. I remember she was sweating badly. I remember she was even fixing her t-shirt button. Her lipstick was all ruined as if someone had kissed her heart. I was shocked to see my wife in this state when I asked her what happened to her and why she was not opening the door. My wife said that she was in the washroom. It was a strange sight that my wife's lap cord was also on the floor as if someone had thrown it away. My wife was literally not allowing me to come inside the room. When I asked her about the charger, she refused that she did not have and closed the door. I remember she was having the charger with her. I wanted to have because I saw the charger on her table. At the same time, I really did not know why she was telling a lie to me. Even when she closed the door, I heard the sounds coming from her room. Like if she was having a conversation with someone or someone maybe along with her in her room, she was completely changed. Like she was not that sullen to whom I fell in love with. It seemed like she was faking her love before marriage because she wanted to get married with me. There was definitely something wrong with her because the way she used to ignore me and remained busy outside was a matter to consider. I remember one night I heard something that will definitely shock you. It was about 12 a.m. of the night. I was just completely immersed in sleep. Meanwhile, I woke up in order to off the room's lamplight because that bright light was irritating me when I woke up. I was shocked to see my wife nowhere in the bed. I found her everywhere in the house and finally found her outside of our house gate. She was sitting in the front seat of the luxurious car, along with a person. The car window was covered from the person's side. So I did not see that person to whom my wife was sitting in the car. At the dark hour of night, I called her name loudly. As soon as she found me awaken, she hardly came out of the car. At the same time, when the person in the car came to know about me, he hurriedly moved his car and gone. My wife seemed really confused and had no words to say when I fiercely asked her to whom she was in the car. At this time, my wife cunningly created a scene. She yelled at me and said that she was with one of her serious patients who got severe pain in spinal cord. She said that she was just fixing the person's spinal cord. I remember she began to curl with me that I was suspecting such a beautiful and sincere doctor for no reason. I remember I tried my best to fix her mood but she was so angry that time her activities were getting unbearable day by day. It was a pure love marriage, but I found her changed. Since the day we got married, our physical relationship is really not good. Because she used to be full. Most of the time I often saw some inappropriate wrappers in her hospital's room bin. I always used to consider everything positive. But one day I heard something that was definitely a turning point of my life. I remember it was Sunday's night and it was about 2 a.m. Amy was sleeping while I woke up in order to quench my thirst. My wife was not in the bed. I thought that maybe she's outside again, along with her patient. I decided to find her that day. She was in the storeroom on our house roof. I saw something that will surely shock you and you'll be surprised. I remember the lights of the roof's storeroom was on. I heard some inappropriate noise like moaning coming from the storeroom. It seemed like someone was in the storeroom. I was damn sure that there were more than 2 people in the storeroom because I heard different people, voices coming from the storeroom. I thought that something must be wrong going inside the room. That time, I was thinking that maybe a robbery gang was in the room. I went downstairs and took my pistol on reaching the roof doorroom back. I was kind of afraid by thinking that if I was inside the room, then the robber would harm her after looking at the pistol in my hand while I kept the pistol in my pocket and begin to knock the door loudly. No one opened the door. So at last I broke the door. What happened inside the room was still unbelievable for me. I remember my wife was fully naked. Her clothes were scattered on the floor. There were 2 African youngsters around her. It seemed like the 3 were enjoying themselves physically together because the 2 blank youngsters were also wearing no cloths. When my wife found me in front of them, she created such a drama. At first she hurriedly willed herself. Then she came close to me. I remember she began to cry loudly that they both were raping her. After seeing this all, there was no place of my eagerness. I was really so furious that time that I was just about to kill them both with my pistol, but they both began to crawl with me, and then my wife cunningly pushed me back by saying that she was protecting me and let them both escape. I remember my wife was trying her best to gain my sympathies by saying that both youngsters were trying to rape her. I really did not know how they both entered in our house because the main gate used to be latched at night. There were 2 keys to the main gate. One was for me and one was for my wife. I really did not know what the actual matter was when I asked my wife to take a shower and then she slept. I remember it was about 3 a.m. that night when my wife was on the phone. I remember she was asking someone on the call about the person's health. I thought that she must be with her patient. So I just ignored and slept. The next morning when I woke up, I was expecting my wife to be upset for what happened last night. But I was shocked to see her being so fine. When I went to the hospital, I caught a sight on the same person which was along with my wife. Last night, I was shocked to see him going towards my wife's room in the hospital. I thought that he must be harming my wife. So I decided to chase him. I remember that person called someone on the phone, and as soon as that person made a phone call and then went outside of the hospital. I remember she gave some money to the guard and was saying something to him secretly. Even that African person also went outside of the hospital following my wife. I decided to chase them both. This time I went out of the hospital by another side. I kept following both of them. I did everything silently and steadily. I was shocked to see both of them stopped outside of an apartment. My wife was completely all right with that person. In fact, he was touching my wife's private parts like he was used to with her. I realized that my wife was actually ditching me and was telling a lie with me. I kept following them. Finally, they both went to the bedroom where there were already 3 more males present. One of them was Mitchell while the other 2 seemed young. I saw him many times in my wife's clinic. I used to think that they might be my wife's patient. As soon as my wife entered the bedroom, all of them began to wear off their clothes. I remember my wife was seducing them by doing some. I was shocked to see my wife wearing off her clothes. I remember as soon as my wife veered off her clothes, all of the 4 boys jumped on her. Like if they were desperately waiting for her, my wife was really enjoying the poom. There was no place for my anger at that time. I screamed loudly on them and appeared in front of them. I remember my wife saw me. She was totally like a fish out of water. I remember my feet froze after seeing my love along with that man. I just bent my knees and asked her why she was ditching me like this. My wife confessed something that will surely show you. She said she got married at the age of 16 years with a 64-year-old man who never fulfilled her physical desire. She's now crazy for sexual activities along with different men because a single man cannot fulfill her urge. She further told me that she got married to me just for property because her father made it crystal clear that he would only give her part of his property. And she married a decent man and succeeded in building a proper relationship. After hearing this, all my eyes were filled with tears. I divorced her at the moment. I remember she was screaming and apologized a lot, but I cannot bear such a slut anymore. Simply why are some women so hungry for physical activities with multiple men? Have you ever interacted with such kind of women?